Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today we are diving into rebuilding sales for business growth. Vague, I know, but I think some of the things that we're going to talk about today will put it into a bigger picture for you. My special guest today is Gregg Taylor. He is the chairman and managing CEO of Restoration Partners. I could give you a lot about his background, but I'm actually going to let him share a little bit about himself. So please welcome Gregg.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. It's always better when actually somebody else shares my background. So I'll give you the 2 cents worth here. So as it relates to the industry, I came from outside of the industry, owning a consulting company for almost 20 years. Had a headhunter reach out to me about an opportunity with Paul Davis. And when that opportunity seemed to be the right one for me, the first thing that happened was I got to go to owner school. And owner school changed everything for me because it helped me understand everything about this industry as the owner would actually see it. So if I'm coming in as a consultant, I really don't want to tell you anything that I just read in a book 15 minutes ago. I have been there. When I'm talking to somebody in the building, I actually went out with estimators and project managers and I put on PPE and I went to fires and I went to mitigation. So that was really a key. I got to learn the business, fell in love with the industry. We were struggling recruiting. There was more opportunity that I thought we could get with the Paul Davis locations I was working with, but recruiting was a challenge. And then I began to see that it wasn't just a Florida issue or a Paul Davis issue, it was industry wide. And that's when I decided, you know what, let's give this a shot. Let's put together a recruiting agency just for restoration and see how it goes. In my great genius, I opened 2 weeks before COVID. So we had to put everything on hold for about 7 weeks. But we made an impact and we had some great clients and we got people placed. But it was about 2 years ago when I really began to see some struggles in that we were getting more business development and sales reps opportunities coming to us. But because having placements to stay is a big part of what we have to do, turnover, we were concerned about whether or not an organization had the infrastructure for a sales rep to support them, whether they had management, whether they had training. And when we didn't see that, our solution to it was, let's put together a division that does that. We'll recruit an A player, we'll put them through training, and then we'll add layer in ongoing management and coaching if that's what our client wants. So that's how I got started and how I ended up here today.
Yeah, it's such an interesting story too, because you came from somewhere completely separate, right? And so you already had a different set of knowledge and skills that you were actually able to apply to this industry just in a different light. And I think, you shared what inspired you and where you went and how you got to where you are today. And man, COVID is just crazy. I think we all remember where we were during that time, right? It's a very profound memory for all of us. But with your business, you fill quite a few gaps, and I think it's really important to kind of talk about those gaps, right? I know you just kind of briefly mentioned what the specialty is, but how important is that to be filled, that gap to be filled by what you guys offer?
Well, I think it's of critical importance, not of minor importance. It is of critical importance. Like every fractured industry, and this one is a fractured industry. You've got big folks, you got small folks. If you drive down the street, you have no idea that Billy Bob's Restoration is doing $20 million. You don't have a clue, right? So it's a fractured industry. And when you've got fractured industries, much like the funeral industry in the 80s and 90s, mom and pop funeral homes, they consolidated. Private equity came in and it changed the face of that industry. And I think private equity has come into this one and is literally just at the beginning stages. I mean, they're probably 7, 8 years into us seeing some major private equity put in. But that means that they see the future in this industry, and I think the future is super bright. Now, if you want to be purchased or have somebody invest in your company, it's critical that you have a growth plan. Because if you think you had one before private equity, wait Wait till they get their claws in you, and they're going to push you further than you've ever been. And if you're not one of those that are being acquired or consolidated, how do you maintain or retain market share? So it becomes critical that sales has to be a part of what you do. For this industry, it's a leap because for years, sales really were cold sales. Even today, I talk to people and say, you know what, can you get us a marketer? No, like that's not what we do. A marketer is going to drop donuts and say hello. And that's where this industry's always been. And that's what they consider sales. The reality of it is if you want to generate business, you have to have people who actually know how to sell, not just talk about the services you provide, but sell. So to maintain or retain market share, to answer your question, this is a critical piece of the business.
Yeah, it really is. And we were talking about this before we even started recording is there's just been such a big gap historically on the training for sales professionals in our space and actually several other industries, but for us it's extremely detrimental. We talk about technical education and training all the time, but what about those who are driving the success of our business with sales? You know, why does it lag behind quite a bit? And what are the consequences of not having that education and training as regular for our sales professionals?
So I'm super thrilled you asked that question because it's great. It gets to the heart really of how we see it and why our business is expanding, but why it can expand so much more. So you have a background in IICRC. When I went to owner school, I got IICRC certified, right? I didn't pass a lot of tests in college, but I was able to get through the IICRC certification and become certified. Nobody would hire me, but I am certified. That training is available, right? If I was an estimator, I can get Xactimate or Symbility training. If I'm a project manager, there's training out there for that. So the big question today is this one. If I am a restoration owner, would I send a tech on their third day out to go to their best client by themselves? Would I send an estimator on their third day out to go to their best client by themselves? People who did not have any part of the industry in their background? How about with a project manager? I would not. And yet, training in this industry consists in most cases of, I'm glad you joined us, Johnny. We actually need some help. I want you to spend a couple of days with our technicians and with our estimators so you can see what we do. That's the training, and it doesn't work. So if I'm a restoration company owner, I need to ask myself, how many of these people have I gone through in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And if I keep doing it the same way, am I going to get the same results? So this industry has chosen simply not to have trained sales reps. And guess what? There's enough of them out there now that are getting training that folks don't even know yet that they're losing market share. So it is a function of the industry history and the fact, and I'm generalizing here, most owners come from a operations background. Most owners don't have a sales background, and we're always overjoyed when one does, but maybe they're not as strong operationally, right? But in this industry, most everybody has an operational background and not a sales background. And even, let's go a step further, Kayla, even if they have a sales background, do they have a sales management background? Do they have a sales training background? So you're setting yourself for failure by not having a sales rep. And then you're setting yourself up for failure again if you get a rep and they're untrained.
Yeah, and I would definitely say we talk about culture and like longevity, and this is part of it. That's part of that equation, right? You have to have some buy-in for your staff to feel like, okay, I can really set my roots here and also grow. And it's extremely detrimental to make sure that we're bringing in education and training opportunities for everybody in our business, and particularly sales. Yes, it's great for them to ride with your team and understand the business, but also there's strategies in sales, right? There's also a communication factor, follow-up, how not to be salesy but still sell. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, right? And so it's extremely
Absolutely.
important to have kind of the voice of your business, making those relationships, have the training and education that they need on a regular basis. And so this kind of brings me to my next question. I know you offer a boot camp that's about 4 weeks, right? What makes this different from a traditional boot camp that you would see within our industry?
That's a really good question. And I would say probably even that terminology is different, right? A boot camp kind of gives you the idea that it's short, right? And there's a lot of quick lessons. We really drill down for 4 weeks. Like it is a lot of content that we get out. Our content has been created by a gentleman who used to own his own independent franchise. He became part of his own independent location. He became a franchisee, ranked in the top 50 of that franchise that he was with, sold the business, and has been involved in consulting for years. So we have a lot of content from somebody who has actually done this, and we think that's really important. The 4 week period is designed to not just give you an overview of what sales looks like, but kind of get into the details of the thing. I'm going to go and see property managers. Okay, a property manager that has 2 buildings, you're going to pitch totally different than one that's got 15 and totally different than one that's got 48 in 3 states, right? So how do you prepare for that? CRM accountability, critical. If it's not in there, then it doesn't exist. How do you know where to go? Making our sales reps understand the difference between hunting and farming, right? Initially, you're going to have to go out there and find more business. So your hunting's going to be up and your farming is going to be down, but doing this correctly, that's going to change. Because even though you sign me, and I might be a huge property manager in your territory, until I have a loss, there's no revenue. So that's one of the things that we want to share with the reps is this is not a ring your bell type of sale, right? If I'm a car salesman, when that guy drives off the lot with the Tesla, that's a sale, and I know it, right? At Long John Silver's, if you like the food, you ring the bell before you walk out because it's instant gratification. Here, you're going to get people to agree to use you when they have a loss. Revenue will always trail the actual deal. So you've got to get used to making the deal and the activities super important. And then we want to break down what those activities are, what they look like, why those activities are important, what the consistency of that is. And if you do those things, then you have a real good chance of being successful. That is all part of our 4 week training. And the last piece that we really get into is making sure people understand how to build a database. Right. The last thing you want is to have a sales rep that goes through training and graduates on a Friday. Monday, he's there early because it's his first real day. He's going to sit there in front of the owner and say, "You got any leads for me?" Right. So that's not a situation you want. So we want to make sure that they have a place to go with all of this training they just got. And we believe that should all be part of this 4 weeks that we give them. Online training. They have a test every day, and they meet with a live trainer 4 days a week. So during this period, they're getting a lot of instruction, but they're also getting a lot of practical experience and a lot of role play. Role play is super important. You can learn a lot, and then you go try to spit it out, and it's totally different than just watching it on a video. So that is a big part of what we're training also.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too. It's really hard to put everything into a small, maybe couple of day course or what have you. So 4 weeks and to be able to have different aspects of learning, I think makes a huge difference too, right? Um, Also kind of having that role playing, it makes you have the uncomfortable situations before ever going out into the field, which
Right.
is really nice,
Right.
right? So you're like, oh, okay, if I was uncomfortable doing this and I was able to work through it, I'll be fine in the field. I think the
Yes.
other thing is our industry is a little different than what a normal industry looks like, if you will. So I definitely think that does play a huge role in the success of, kind of the heart of what we do, right? Because we have to have a sales team. So, I think it's extremely important to nurture nurture that. And not only that, CRM is huge. I don't know how many times we hear people talk about, well, we've had all these leads, but if they weren't hot, they kind of just went in this bucket. Well, why did they just go in this bucket? They should still be getting touched and talked to and
Exactly.
nurtured, right? Because at some
Right.
point, something's going to happen where they need help, right? So
Right.
nurture
Right.
them and treat them like they were a hot lead. And so I think that's extremely important. So 4 weeks seems like a long time, but honestly, that's a good time. It's not too long, it's not too short. But how does ongoing coaching and management impact the reps' performance and retention? We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what is that important piece? Why is it so important to have that ongoing coaching and management post 4 week training?
Yeah, it's a really big deal, and it's probably been bigger than I thought that it would be. So if we go back to the training module, right? Who could be in our training class? It could be somebody that is brand new. It could be somebody that we've recruited and is brand new. It could also be an experienced rep. We've had reps that have been out in the field for 6 years, and the owner says, you know what, I'm going to put you in training for the first time. And they come out elated about what they learned. So now you've got this 4 weeks and you've learned how to get this thing done the right way. When you get back to your office, who knows this? Who is there to keep you on track? And so GitNux says very clearly that 50% more sales come from sales reps who have ongoing management and coaching. 50% more sales come from that group. So when you get away from daily accountability, well, then you're asking yourself, for low activity levels. When you get away from real-time feedback, you lose efficiencies and you lose opportunities. And if there's no pipeline discipline, then you're going to get a lot of inconsistency and you're going to get low revenues. So continuing the ongoing touching and the ongoing accountability, we think is key. In a lot of cases, our clients do not have a sales manager. The owner is oftentimes the sales manager. And I've had owners who are, thank God they're transparent. Like sometimes I wish they wouldn't be. I had one say, Greg, I literally go in the office and shut the door when I see the sales guy coming in because he's going to talk to me forever and I have other things to do. But like, I wonder why your sales are not where they need to be. Like that's part of the problem. So it's a different type of thing. Kayla, here's another interesting part of that. Think about this. Everybody else in the building is involved in administration and ongoing operations. A salesperson is a lonely job. Nobody is there. Most salespeople think out of the left side of their brain, which is totally different than most other people. So they're alone. By having ongoing management and coaching, you have a chance on Monday during our big kickoff meeting to interact with reps who are all across the country doing what you do. You're going to hear victories and how those victories will achieve. You're going to learn new ideas, but making sure that you're staying on course with what you just took 4 weeks to learn, that's really the key to this ongoing management and coaching. One last thing, we have some clients that have sales managers. To put a rep into our training and yet not the sales manager means the rep is going to come out and know things that the sales manager doesn't, which doesn't create the right dynamic either, right? So sitting sales managers inside of that training is critical because we're going to help them understand. It's a little bit different training for them, but we're going to teach them how to be better sales managers than they are today. So yes, this ongoing piece is very, very important, and it is going to determine, in my opinion, the success or failure of that rep post-training.
Yeah, and I definitely think with that specific training for them that's designed for their role, it'll also help them be maybe a little bit more vocal with the rest of the team too and say, hey, you do this, but I sell this. Why aren't we on the same page? And that goes into marketing as well, right? It kind of
Right, that's
creates
right.
this cohesiveness when everybody has their own specialized training, but then it lets them come together and share what they've learned and their ideas and how to make a better customer journey
That's right.
happen. And so I think that's extremely detrimental. And to your point, it's not just a sales rep, you have sales management opportunities, and that's also really important too. I mean, if you think about the different levels of positions in the industry and just the business, right? You have like marketing director or manager, and then you have a marketing coordinator. They too all should go into some similar, training. Same thing with your lead tech project manager, all of that.
Absolutely.
And so this is no different. I think it's just a more specialty area in what we do every day. And I kind of wanted to bring us back to the importance of this training and opportunity that, we nurture our sales professionals because we have seen acquisitions increase. Oh my gosh, in the last 2 years, it's been insane what I've seen. And you mentioned this earlier, like it's only going to continue to happen. However, how does a sales focused strategy help companies not just survive, and feel like they have to be acquired, but actually grow their market share, like you mentioned earlier? How can we make it to where, we're not just thinking about, oh, acquisition is going to be the end all be all, so I'll just stay complacent. No, let's have a sales focused strategy to help build our business and grow our share. Can you share a little bit of insight on that for me?
Yeah, I can. And you use the exact words that we're going to be using a lot coming up in 2026. And that is having a sales focused organization. A sales focused organization, it again is not just going to be about the sales rep. We want to introduce the ability for your estimator to be able to sell better, for your project manager to be able to sell better. How about the lead tech? Probably one of the most important pieces. They're the first person, and most clients are going to see their ability to sell. And so and how about the person answering the phone, right? So when that comes together, that's when you've got this completely integrated, synergized, sales focused organization. As it relates to consolidation and the acquisition piece, if I've got a location in Austin and now I've got Austin and I've got Dallas and I've got Houston, trust me, my internal functions and the way I operate my business have changed overnight, right? So now I'm on the road. I'm leaving the current office in Austin. I'm going to Houston to spend time. I'm on my way to Dallas. I'm on my way back. And you lose that initial feel that you had. Integrating a new business into your system is very important. Your sales rep is frontline. Your sales rep is going to be able to bring to their clients what caused you or positioned you to be able to make these acquisitions in the first place. If you acquired underperforming locations, which is often the case, you have the ability now to reframe what it is you do and why that makes a difference. So frontline sales is going to be the key to your future. If you're on the sideline and you're not somebody that got acquired or private equity is not coming in, sometimes people get intimidated. An independent that might say, you know what, I'm surrounded by a Surf Pro or a Belflor or a Paul Davis. Let me tell you something. You have no idea whether they have a good sales program or not. They may have a name, but that doesn't mean they have a great sales program or not. So your ability to maintain your market share is critically tied to your ability to get out, create customers who believe in you, who understand you, who trust you, and who will continue to come back to you. And thus, you don't really have to be so worried about the future. But if you don't do anything, let me tell you something. Think about all the department stores that didn't see the change coming, that are no longer in existence. Go to your local malls that used to exist 7 years ago and see who's there now. Things change. Sales doesn't. You have to have it no matter whether you are growing or maintaining.
Yeah, and you said some key things there that everybody in the business actually is detrimental to a sale, right? From the person who answers the phone to the person who's stepping foot into the client's home or business to your sales rep, all the way through marketing, right? I think that there's a piece that most people don't really talk about, and it's that every single person in your company has a key piece in a sale, period,
Right.
right? It has to be delightful the whole time, whether it's the technician, the person answering the phone, the marketing emails you're getting, the sales rep you're talking to, all the way up to your PM and things like that, right? And so if we have that mentality, I think it will also help build that customer relationship, if you will. Like, oh, I play a huge role in this, which everybody does. I have a marketing background. I've done marketing for quite some time, and people are like, "Oh, you're great at sales." I'm like, I don't think I'm sales. I just like to talk to people, but that's also a really key piece, right? Every single
Yes.
position holds some type of leverage with a sale, whether it's just communication in their eyes or talking to people. It's extremely important to let your team know the role that they play, right? And maybe that allows people who maybe are just admin grow into a sales role too, right? Because
Right. That's
if
right.
you're growing, you have to have opportunity for your staff, and that also creates a great culture and unity. And not only to mention, your team is going to go through the same training, so you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and completely derailing what you've been working on. So, you
You're
know,
right.
and I think you said something really powerful there. Whether you're a franchise or an independent, focus on yourself. Focus on what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and just do the best you can and focus on maybe the points that aren't as strong. I know oftentimes, not just in our industry, but other industries, we kind of look at the person next door and say, what are they doing? Right? Well,
Yes.
that might work for them, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So how about you focus within? And that would be one thing I would definitely say. You pretty much said that, but I was like, oh, it just kind of made my a light bulb go off in my head and just say, man, just focus on yourself, right?
Yep.
There's enough
Yep.
business to go around. And if you know that you have a solid sales team and strategy, use it, own it, and you'll find your own success. I really appreciate you sharing so many insights today, Greg. Is there anything you'd like to share before we let everybody go?
Yeah, I would say number one, thank you to you. As I said before the call, you've made a difference in R&R, so I appreciate what you're doing over there. Your knowledge of the industry is great. One last thing, we are stewards of people's lives when we own businesses. We don't want to bring sales reps in and have them fail over and over again because that affects their lives. It affects the schools their kids get to go to or whether or not they get braces, right? So whether you have a new rep or whether you have seasoned reps, it's your responsibility to get those people the very best training they can possibly get. And we're fortunate we have it. But if it's not us, somebody has it. But make sure that they have that ability to say, during my time that I worked with such and such, I got better. And I got better because they offered the opportunity for me to get trained in order to get better. Those people will be thrilled. You will find your turnover rate is going down. You'll find that your sales results are getting better. But without that, you're going to be stuck in the same situation you've been in for years. And in most cases, it's not where you want to be.
Yeah, well said there, Greg. Thank you so much for your compliments and thank you so much for sharing your insights today. I look forward to having you on sometime in the future again, and we can kind of maybe do a pulse check and see how, the advice went for, maybe 2026, and we'll see what the future holds. But as always, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on, and for all of you watching, take care, and we will see you on the next episode of Ask the Expert.